Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch Harlan, and welcome to the Truth Talks podcast. Today's episode, I am here with Nick Alfano. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir. How about you?
Doing fantastic, actually. We developed this thing called Truth Talks podcast because we kind of believe in the idea that when a person gets real truthful or tells a truthful story, it has the absolute opportunity to change someone's life. And our tagline here is 8 seconds in every conversation has a chance to completely transform your life. You really opened up to me about your personal story and then why the truth absolutely became essential to you. So tell our audience a little bit about how all of this came to fruition.
Yeah. If you do any research, I guess I'm definitely famous for this is the one word that changed my life. Like I do a lot of different talks. I deal a lot with men specifically, and I truly believe that like if soon as you step into this game of truth, like everything changes. And yeah, about 4 years ago, I actually signed a document. So I'm a former attorney. Actually, I walked away from my bar card and from the law practice. I used to say all attorneys are liars or all lawyers are liars was another tagline. I don't really like the word all because there are a few good ones out there. So if there's any attorneys listening, hopefully one of the good ones. About 4 years ago, I was separated from my wife. We've been together 24 years. This is like beyond high school sweetheart. We've known each other since sixth grade. We have 3 kids together, and then we have an adopted kid. So like we've been through a lot. And I would say 17 of those 24 years, I was cheating on her. I was an absolute. Can I cuss on this thing or a little bit?
Yeah, it's Truth Talks. Let it rip.
Yeah, I don't want to drop too many F-bombs, but I was a shithead. Okay, so I was an absolute shithead. And I was of the mindset, like probably most male entrepreneurs or breadwinners, that, hey, look, I'm the king of my castle. I bring it in. I do what I want. You handle the kids. Like this is my world. You're just living in it type of mentality. And I was just disrespecting her constantly. And yeah, so we were broken up for about a year. I was in my little apartment making tons of money. And I was actually just too graphic with this, but I was banging Instagram models, like I thought I was the king of the world. And it just hit me over the head like really hard. I never missed anything for my kids. I thought, again, that was one of my stories. Hey, I'm always there for the kids, and she's just not the right mom, right, for me, or the right wife for me. And so I just literally, like, financially sound but morally bankrupt is probably the best way to describe it. And I attributed my entire worth to my financial success. I went to an event one time in San Diego, California. It was actually a gentleman named Garrett J. White, and this is his line, not mine. But I wrote this in a journal, and I've stared at it every day since. And I think this is one of the most powerful sentences. And it's essentially, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And it just like spoke through me, like it floored me. It hit so hard. And it was probably one of a million things he said. And I'm sure the point of these events is everyone kind of takes little bits and pieces, or obviously depending on where you are in your journey or your level of consciousness at the time, different parts of what he says or his speakers will land or not land. But it hit me so hard. And I could actually, at the time, I couldn't even figure out why. I was like, why is this such a, like, I had to actually wrap my head around that sentence. And I just started going down this rabbit hole of like, just holding up a giant mirror and asking myself, like, how many lies do I tell in a day? How often? Like everything is my ego is I'm posturing. I'm, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you don't really make that much money. You're not that fast. You're not that strong. You're not that buff. You're not that cool. Like, I just continue to like just fill up 5 or 6 pages in a journal of like all the lies that I either live or directly or indirectly like put out there in the universe. And it like disgusted me to a degree that I just said, you know what? And at the time I was an attorney, and I sat down and I've just made this massive commitment to myself, and I call it the truth agreement. I have the wet copy still, like that I have very close to me at all time. And then I have a couple digital copies that I keep in case I need to remind myself. And also, like, if you step into one of my containers and I work with you, you have to sign a truth agreement. Like, I can't. It changed my life. And if I have the time to go into that sentence for a second, the world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. Like, I started to see exactly what that meant, because the more I lived and spoke my truth, like, I lost everything and everybody. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Which is interesting, because when we talk, that's what actually caught my attention. I think people have this conception that, okay, I'm going to start being truthful and my life's going to get easier. Yours actually got harder.
Oh, 100%. So I think people are truthful when it suits them. I think people still are obsessed with this comfort zone mentality that like, if the truth creates an uncomfortable situation or takes them like drastically out of their comfort zone, they'll even rationalize why they told the white lie is a good one, right? Or they just kind of bended the truth, or they omitted saying something. It's mind blowing to me. And when I decided to just speak truth, I realized how much integrity, like I just wasn't living in alignment with what I believe are my actual core values. And you end up just going down the slippery slope. Like, I don't think people that lie are bad people. I think most people don't even know how often they lie because it's become like just a language pattern. It's everywhere. And again, the profession I chose for my career actually encourages indirectly, subconsciously, lying or omitting lies. Like you have the smoking gun, you have the evidence, you have the contract, whatever it is, and you're trying to keep it out of court. You're trying to force it in court. You're trying to manipulate the evidence. You're trying to manipulate the jury. Like, everything is about like, how can you tell a version of the truth that fits the narrative that will benefit your client? And the more I unraveled this, it was just like, I was like, I hate to say ashamed of myself, but point being, it just wasn't for me anymore. So I walked away from a successful legal career. I also was a serial entrepreneur. I had 23 debt collection companies nationwide. I was making 7 figures just waking up and hitting my alarm. Like, it might sound like a douchebag statement, but those are facts. And I literally realized the lack of integrity associated with both of my income sources. And I just said, F it. And I started from scratch. And it was very difficult to take that superhero cape off. Like, most of us dads, like, we don't ever want our kids to think we're struggling, or, we have all the answers. We have, we always have the finances figured out. Like, they don't know if there's $10 in the bank or 10 million in the bank. They don't know. They don't need to know, or so we think. And so as long as the kids got the cleats and the private lessons, and they got the, whatever they need, dad will figure out. And they never really know. And I think that's another big thing. Every man listening to this, or woman, like, I think it's okay that everyone knows that to take the superhero cape off. And that was like one of the hardest parts, because I had to tell my kids the truth. The truth is, dad is cheating on mom. Dad's a shithead. And that's hard when your daughters are teenagers. Like, my daughters had boyfriends at the time. When these conversations were happening, I want to say they were like 14 and 16. Like, they did not like me. They actually, for several years, actually just got a letter from my daughter, who's in college now. She's in her sophomore year. They resented the hell out of me. And then what it did too, is it really showed them, or it gave permission for them to date somebody who cheated on them and still take them back, because mommy did it, because mom did it for years. So they in turn resented mom, and mom didn't really do anything wrong. Step one was taking the superhero cape off with my kids. Dad's a shithead. Dad's got a lot of work to do. Dad does not even deserve mom, but dad's gonna do everything he can to make this right, including like I call it owning your shit. Like, just owning your truth to me is like step one. And for that reason, like, also telling my wife, and then so I was like, okay, cool. Dad's bad in all these areas, but he's still got money figured out. Dad always has money figured out. But guess what? Dad's going to walk away from 7 figures in passive income because it no longer serves him, because it lacks integrity. And he's going to go on this truth mission. And so money's also going to be tight, because dad had this crazy epiphany sitting in his apartment in Corona, California. And it you know what I mean? It just, walls crumbling. And you're like, I'm not a liar. I'm not gonna fucking lie to people. That's bad. It's immoral. Like, and then you start to realize, if you really hold the mirror up and you're willing to do the work. I think that's the problem, is most guys aren't willing to look. They want to blame everybody, not just guys, humans. They want to blame all these external things, and then no one ever wants to look inside. And 99% of your shit is inside. Like, every issue you have is you created it. I promise you. And most of it does stem around your inability to be truthful, either with others, or that's a big thing with the truth, is, are you being truthful with yourself?
When you're making good money, and I like what you said about that, when you're making a lot of money, it does kind of offset a lot of things.
It masks everything. I've got guys now that think when they get the money, it'll fix all these other problems. But the issue is never the business plan. It's the businessman. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I have so many guys, like, so my program has these 4 F's, family, fitness, focus, and finance. And we end on money. So most of my marketing material is centered around, I can show anybody how to make $1 million, which we can both agree $1 million nowadays is actually nothing. Like, it doesn't even get you anywhere. But long story short, I can get most people to 7 figures, especially in the entrepreneur space, if they're controlling their income. And I actually am like hell bent on it, because I want them to see that it doesn't do shit. Like, more money doesn't make you a better person, doesn't make you a better father, husband, a better athlete, whatever. It just makes you more of what you already are. It literally just compounds like whatever you already are. So at your core, if you're a shithead, you just are a shithead with more money, which means you can now do more damage. That's all it means. But people think when I get the million, then my wife will respect me. When I'm financially sound, I'll have time to be intentional with my babies. I'll have time to hit the gym and get the body I always wanted. But what if you just flipped the script? What if you actually dialed in on all those things and you were hyper intentional with your children and present? You know, what does that man look like? What about the guy whose relationship is so on fire? His wife actually wants to sleep with him. And there's no resentment built up there because you feel like she owes you one because you bring home the money or whatever your stupid story is. Like, what if you get the body that you've always wanted, and the amount of just discipline and effort that it takes to achieve that rolls into your everyday at work? And oh, by the way, the confidence that comes with that allows you to close the big deal, to make the big decision, to carry yourself in a way that commands respect, where you're actually a leader that builds other leaders, not followers. Leaders build more leaders. And so what does it look like to actually focus on those three pillars? And the money will come, the money will come. And the thing is, everyone thinks they want $1 million, but they don't know what they fucking want. Like, what if your number is $462,918.16? What if that's your number? What if that's your number every year for the rest of your life? And that allows you to pay the bills, put something away, maybe dabble in real estate, whatever it is, cover the kids' college, like just have a bit of financial freedom and build a legacy. What if your number's not $1 million because Instagram said you got to do it? Fuck them. Like, it hurts my heart, man. Like, most people don't know what they want. And so this is a line, this gentleman spoke at my event the other day. His name's Taylor Welch. And this line hit hard. We actually queued it up. He said, the worst thing you could do is not to fail. The worst thing you can do is be successful at the thing that doesn't matter. Like, quit running someone else's race. And how many of us are caught up? We do the thing because Instagram says to do the thing. We do the thing because someone got this many likes for doing the thing. We do the thing. We buy the shoes because figure out what you want, which is the difficult task, by the way, and typically ever changing, ever moving target. But get as crystal clear. I don't care if you have to just write down every day. What does it effing look like? What do you want? And then you just wake up every single day trying to move the needle that direction. And everything you do, like if you pick up this phone, is this getting me closer or further away, this conversation? Like, is this truth talk right now? This is so in alignment with what I do. I could do this all day. And if one person listens to this and learns something, like, we both win. So this is getting me closer to ultimately what I want to do, which is to help as many human, sounds soapbox, I know. I just want to help as many dudes as possible before I leave this place. That's it.
And you said that, and it's genuine, and I can hear your passion. Let me ask you a question. Here comes a hard one. This is a kick in the nuts. This is the what'd you call it? The spit conversation.
Yeah.
How do I trust you when you've been a douchebag for 17 years?
Yeah, 100%. That's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it would just have to be like, hang out with me for a week and then judge for yourself. That's all I can say. Like, I definitely come far enough on my journey to not worry whether or not someone believes me or believes the hype, or like, I'm so clear on who I am and what, like, I don't let other situations define me or other people define me. And I do believe people are generally capable of change. I'm a big believer in core values. And I think most of our core values are developed between the age of 7 and 14, like from an impressionability standpoint, which usually involves, parents, which I didn't have, some form of mentor, a coach, a teacher. And so I always knew at my core, I wasn't a shithead. And I can tell you that most people who knew me for 25, 30 years, some of which are in my program now, even when I was making bad decisions, knew I wasn't a bad dude at my core. I was just, I was justifying it. Like, my justification on cheating my wife was, so I lost my virginity to my wife. We've known each other since 6th grade. So my story to myself and all my dudes was like, I don't know if she's the one. I've got to go sow my oats. And maybe, how do you know if you don't go and test it? Just ridiculous shit. And so, to answer your question, I guess come hang out with me for a week. Yeah.
Well, you know why I had you on the show?
Yeah.
Is it for that exact reason that I believe that if somebody tells me to swim across the river, don't worry about the current, but I want to listen to the guy on the other side. I want to talk to the guy that's already done it and let them tell me what the current is really like, right? And I think that's a whole aspect of life. Like, I respect you more in the fact that you've been down, made those decisions, dealt with those thought patterns, dealt with reality, and come out on the other side with a passion of telling the truth and figuring out how to help other people navigate that river. And I always think like that. And so when I did get access to your story, it's the whole reason that I have you on here. I could do 1 million people who have programs to help other people. and but they're standing on the same side of the river I am, right? And so I'm always like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not going to ask you how to get over there if you've never swam it yourself. And I think your strength is actually being through it, seeing the devastation that it caused, and then now helping other people trying to avoid that devastation. I think that's the answer that I look for when I want to interview somebody or I want to get that story. And I think your story is a quite common story. Now, maybe not quite for 17 years, but it's a quite common story. And I love the idea that you came with truth. I also love the idea that you were telling me the truth was painful, though. It didn't come easy, especially with the kids.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah. So another thing I'll tell you, so when you say it's a common story, you know, most people have like a circle of five, if you will. And I could tell you right now, you know, when I lost everything, I also lost my entire circle because I ran in a group of guys who, you know, there was times where we would be at a social gathering with our wives, right, with us. The wives are in that room drinking mimosas and guys are over here drinking scotch. And we're like trading cards. We're like showing each other pictures of the girl we had sex with a month ago. And now it's like who had the hotter side chick was an actual conversation. And so what started happening was I didn't judge. I've never ever told someone's wife, you know, check out your boy, he's up to no good. Like, it's not my place, but I definitely stopped engaging with those people. And if I did engage with them and those conversations started to arise, I just separated myself. And so you get a lot of like, oh, he thinks he's better than us now. And that's when that sentence really hit hard in terms of it's a declaration of war, because me living in my truth, and I mean like just owning it outright to anybody who would listen, it forces people to actually hold up their own mirror. And it really is painful for most. They don't want to process their own shit. And so they just start lashing out at me. And again, Nick thinks he's better. So I lost all my friends, my friends loosely. And it's interesting to find yourself all alone. But again, like I always just equate it to the Eminem 8 Mile moment. Like the most powerful man in the room is the one with nothing to hide, zero to hide. Like there's nothing. I'm telling you right now, go Google the world. Anything you find, like we can have a conversation with right now, I don't mind. Like I'm facing a 4-year criminal action right now because I lodged a false document in the court system when I was an attorney. I'm still 4 years in that criminal battle, and I'll tell you every fucking thing about it. And I'll pull out my cell phone. You know what you'll see? You'll see that that was the very last time I was infidelity with my wife, right? 4.5, 5 years ago, which put me into this pit of pain, which allowed me to climb out. And so like a lot of good has come from it, but people sometimes want to bring that up. Let's do it, please. Like I walked into the police station, told them every law I broke, and there was 2, and they filed charges on me because I walked into them. Like, and I was an attorney at the time, and everyone's telling me like, what the f are you doing? You're supposed to never talk. You never talk to the cops. I said, I don't give a shit. I want this over with. I want it behind me. That's how far I took the truth. I literally walked in and just said, look, check this out. I did these bad things. I'm trying to live this new life. I need to like cleanse everything. This is who I am. And I am 4 years into that fucking right now. You can look it up. And it's like, I don't care. Like, and not that I don't care, like from a, you know, I don't know how to explain that as like an I don't care statement sentence, but like, I would rather everyone know everything about me, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's just easier. It's the most liberating thing on the planet Earth. The thing about pain, and it was painful, this is what I know about pain. Pain is either transformed or transmitted. And most people that aren't willing to deal with their pain, and everyone has experienced or is currently experiencing some form of pain, some tremendous pain, it's being transmitted to their kids, to their spouse, to their business partners, to anybody they come into contact with, to some degree, some pain that they are internalizing, that they refuse to fucking deal with because they don't want to look in the mirror, because they don't want to accept their truth. It's actually being transmitted, or you can choose to transform it, but transforming it is effing difficult. It is a nasty road, but once you do it, it can become the most powerful experience of your life. But the first step is it requires truth with self.
Do you think that you have to get to the level that you were at before people really grasp a hold of that realization? Or do you think that everybody truly wants to just tell the truth, they just don't know how?
The latter. I think if you just did this 30-day experiment where you just, like you said, even the smallest things that you believe to be trivial, because that's like the white lie or the omission concept, right? Like, well, if I didn't say it, I didn't really tell a lie. I just hid the fact that I bought new golf clubs, or I said I was going here and I went there. Like, here's one, like some of my guys are very resistant to this when they join, but the wives love me for it. You have to get this app called Life 360 when you join my program. And Life 360, we got it for when my kids started driving. If anyone has kids that drive, I'm pretty sure they're familiar with it. It basically GPSes your phone for life. But also says how fast you're going. Did you step on the brakes too hard? It's for you to check on your kids' safe driving, as well as just know where they're at, when they start having curfews, et cetera. And a lot of my guys will literally yell at the top of their lungs, she doesn't need to know where I'm at every effing second of the day. And that's insane. That's stalker shit. Or that's, I need my space, my time. Cool. That's a story. Are we done talking now? Yes, she does. Because what happens is, if you've been a shithead, yes, the first 6 months on that app, she will 100%, she's going to stalk you on it. And she'll probably throw some jabs. But the beauty of it is, what if she just really genuinely gives a shit about where you're at? And maybe sometimes she wants to have dinner ready by the time you get home, and she could see you're 37 minutes out driving 60 miles an hour. What if you were supposed to be home at 10, you neglected to call because you're a shithead, and she just wants to make sure you're safe when she wakes up at 2 a.m. and you're not in the bed and she's in panic mode? Because a lot of girls don't go straight to you're cheating. A lot of girls genuinely go straight to, is he okay? But they've never experienced this. And the story that perpetuates their ability to keep being shitheads is the only story that exists. Confirmation bias. Human beings are the only animal on this planet Earth that would rather be right than win.
Right.
You know this.
Yeah.
Like battered wife syndrome. They will stick with the dude that beats them because they know. They would rather just know that he's going to hit him again. They would rather say this sentence: I knew he was going to fucking hit me. I knew he was going to do it again. I knew it. I was right. I knew he was or cheating. I knew he was going to do it again. I'm going to keep going back. But a win looks like happy wife, happy individual. But a win means you have to change your story. Yeah. And so confirmation bias, which is inherent in all of us, says, I would rather this pattern of bullshit continue because it's so predictable and comfortable that I'm going to stay in this F situation in perpetuity for most. And so I just encourage, it is so powerful, and it will do wonders for your marriage. So if we're just talking guys right now that want to, like you said, maybe they feel it's a small lie, and no, you don't have to hit rock bottom and lose everything to hit this truth trajectory, if we want to call it that. Yeah, I think even a 7-day experiment, and just see how it goes, and watch how your wife responds. And especially when you don't try to get brownie points for it, but when I first started this, it was because it's habitual. So we're habitual offenders, right? And I would say I'm going here, but I went there, and I would actually call and say, hey, I don't even know why I did it. The story in my head was that you would be frustrated if I went here, so I told you this to avoid conflict, when in reality I should have just told you the truth, and everybody would win. And those are common conversations that happen, for however long it takes you to crack these habits, but they're very powerful. And
I think they're the most powerful
for your marriage. Yeah, for your marriage, 100%.
Yeah, most powerful. I got to go down this line, and I had to. I want to hear the conversation when you tell your wife this. I'm going to be truthful.
So I think one of the best things that happened to us was breaking up for that year. It had to be enough of time, because another reason we kept getting back together, it was I felt my story was, I don't know how to live alone. So if it wasn't her, then I was just having one night stands or 3-month relationships, whatever they were. And so when I woke up one day and I said enough, and I went to that event, and I got kicked in the head and told all these things, and I started just exposing myself. And I told her this. I think it was very frustrating at first because she had no reason to believe me. Like you said, how do I believe you when you have a pattern of lying 17 years that I know of? You know what I mean? Yeah. So part of it was definitely this frustration, but I knew I had no right to be frustrated. I deserved everything that was coming. It was a 3 or 4 hour conversation. And this is a tough one. I've walked a few guys through, because especially if it's surrounded by infidelity, they ultimately want closure, is my experience. This is anecdotal. And so sometimes that closure looks like they want details, or they want to know, sometimes they would rather hear that it was a one night stand. It was a physical thing. They could almost play the Animal Kingdom card in their head. You know what I mean? But and some guys think this is another, debunk this myth too, that flirting at work or almost getting to the point of physical intimacy, or, you know what I mean? But if there's emotional intimacy or emotional connection, like that, to me, and to most women will agree with this, that's worse. That's worse than just going out and effing up one time. Both horrible. But point being, a lot of the questions that surrounded this conversation were very like detailed. Like, it blew me away. Like, what? Basically, I kept asking, why the hell? Why would she want to know these things? But I told myself it doesn't matter what she asked for. She has a right to all of this and more. And to stand across from her and have to say those things and just watch them process like a land, like one after another. Like, it was like a prize fight, but I was Mike Tyson and she was, you know, some skinny kid. Like, it was literally like hit after hit, and she was defenseless, but she kept asking. So it's almost like, hit me again. No, hit me again, motherfucker, hit me again. And I'm so obsessed with, like, I'm just going to give her all of it so that hopefully this is a one-time conversation, like one and done. It was almost, and I think every guy that has done something similar to their wives needs to experience this, to the extent that what I felt in that 3 hours was not even close to what she felt every single time she caught me or thought she, you know, I just had a feeling like, I mean, she was manifesting physical symptoms as a result. I mean, you can get so worked up emotionally, you know this, where you literally, like, it can stop you in your tracks. It can create ulcers. It can create, you know, all kinds of things. And yeah, that one was difficult. And then my daughter, the one that went to college, like just flat out hate. Like, I had no connection with my oldest daughter because she is my wife's mini me. Most people who know us know that. And so she's, you know, team mom, team, how the fuck could you do this to my mom, dad? And then, you know, the timing was such that she was heading off to school, and it was just, you know, imagine every parent doesn't want to hear it, you know, I never want to talk to you again. I hate you. And, you know, like, I don't care if you think you're going to fix this, or you can't undo this. And what's interesting now is, like, my wife almost gets a little FOMO around this. That particular daughter, my eldest, her name's Tenley Jordan. We actually FaceTime more than any of the other kids, right? And we're like the closest we've ever been. And she recently wrote a paper about me being like her hero, which is insane to me. But anyway, yeah, man, I just think everyone needs to go through that. I think it was beyond deserved, and and yeah, like, what I felt doesn't mean shit because of what I put her through for that many years, you know. And it's almost like the universe was trying to, like, hey, this is just a taste of what she went through for however long. And we got through that, like, 6 months. Like, we just broke the cycle. We broke the cycle of Nick saying, like, I fucked up, but I'll be better, and don't you hold it over my head for more than 24 hours, or we got a problem. Okay, I'm out of here, because I'm not living like this. I'm not living miserable. I'm out, you know. And I would go use an excuse to be a shithead. And a lot of that just came with, like, just doing the work, like, literally, like, looking at myself and realizing I'm about 85% of the issue here. You know, like, maybe she's got to step out and meet me at the 20-yard line, but I've got to come a long fucking way.
Is the slate clean?
Yeah, 100%.
And how do you think she cleaned that slate?
She's done a lot of work. She likes to, we have this conversation once in a while. And she likes to say, like, need versus want is a very big thing to her. So, like, some people think it's sexy to tell your spouse, like, I need you, but that's extremely unhealthy in the grand scheme of things. That's like a codependent relationship. And it can sound cute on a text, and I'm sure some people think it is, whatever. But, like, when we split up for that period of time, I learned how to be alone, but so did she. Like, she learned how to be extremely independent without my money. Like, but not that I didn't help her, obviously. Like, I wasn't that big of a shit. But realistically, she learned what it was like to go a year and change without me. And so we both came to this stark realization that we don't need each other anymore. We don't need to be together for the kids. You know, the best version of myself and her will make the best parent to them, and that might not be together. And we did so much personal work that it became I want you in my life for the rest of my life, period. And I think when need became want, this is her language, she felt like I've never been more in love with my wife. Like, my kids right now, like, if I don't get on the phone with my wife, you will laugh at us, because we talk like we're like literally like we just got together last week. Like, we just goof off, and it's like high pitched girly goof. Like, I'm just a little kid. I'm like on cloud 9 every single time I talk to her. So yeah, need versus want, I think what for her is what she realized, not only that she wanted me, but I have never actually expressed either maybe verbally, but also through my actions in a consistent manner that I wanted to be there. And she saw that, and then that was it for her.
I just love your story, man. And honest to goodness, I value you more because of the courage and the strength and all the stuff that most people might say is bullshit. I've seen it too many times. I know this story far too often, far too well. And the people who are successful are the people who've done exactly what you've done. So I hope we have listeners that sit there and listen to every damn word that you said, because you're on the other side of the river. And you know the current, you know the depth. And I appreciate you coming on our show and literally just cleaning this up and telling people and telling guys. I mean, man, I sit here and I listen to it, my head shaking, and I'm thinking things running through my head, and I'm probably not going to get in front of guys and do push-ups and get spit all over me, but
hey, you're welcome to come check us out anytime. You don't have to do the hard stuff, but just see what we're doing. It's a beautiful movement. Like,
I will. But I want to thank you so much for coming on our show, and I'm sure we're going to bring you back on at some point, because I love these conversations, and I think men need to hear it, but I actually think women also need to hear it.
100%.
It's not easy being a woman. It's not easy being a man, but it does get a little easier if we understand one another a little bit better. And so I'm going to bring you back, and we'll get a couple different topics that go and just with your experiences. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate you, and I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate the truth.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, and if you want to, now's the time. We plug the program.
Yeah, you can check us out. I'm not good at this. I don't know. Yeah.
We're good at it.
We run events every 6 weeks. Reprogram.ai. Yeah, you're going to get directly to my cell phone. We don't BS. You're not going to get some like front man. If you want to have a conversation with me, if it makes sense, we charge $0. They're 2.5-day events, 20 people max. We try to keep it intimate, and 20 out of 20 people say these exact words every single time. Life-changing. So if you just want to come out and check out a free event, it's life-changing, hit me up. We'll have a conversation. If it makes sense, great. If not, find a container to be in, because that's the difference right there. So.
Nick Alfano, you're a great human being, man. I didn't know you then, but I know you now, and that's all I need to know.
Likewise. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it.